Father. Thank you, Father. So much to be thankful for. A teacher gave her class of second graders a lesson on the magnet and what it does. And the next day in a written test, she included this question. Quote, my full name has 6 letters, and the first one is M, and I pick up things. What am I? And when the test papers were turned in, the teacher was astonished to find that almost 50% of the students answered the question with the word mother. Yeah. My name starts with M, I pick up things. As much as childbirth seems onerous, I believe the precious privilege far outweighs any burden. My husband went to count money so I could talk to him. He keeps going, oh, I'm so glad we don't have to have childbirth. You know? But I think he missed something. I think that men miss something. I think that it is just the most phenomenal privilege there is. And such a special thing, such a special thing. I didn't say having children, I said the privilege of being the birther. And despite what the news keeps trying to tell you that anybody can give birth, it's not true. I have to tell you, I'm just going to step over here, Ed, you got it, okay. I was looking up something about statistics, and I came across some of this new stuff that I don't understand. And unfortunately, I read very quickly. I ended up reading that much before I could get my eyes off it. And I just can't believe, you know, the article is trying to say that men most definitely can give birth. And I'm thinking, oh, don't talk to God, because he's going to deny it. So, you know. But I believe it is a stunning, outstanding, marvelous privilege. And I'm not saying that birth is easy. I just think that to be the one who can give birth is beyond measure a precious gift. Just a phenomenally precious gift. It's in our culture, it's I don't know what they say it is. It's just God gave that to women. Pregnancy is a temporary state, and it's a privilege. Not every woman has the ability or chance to carry a child and bring it into the world. Somehow our culture has made that into a burden. Oh, you're pregnant again. Oh, how terrible. And they you know, one of the things that's a real problem for pregnant women is all the horror stories that everybody comes up and wants to tell them. You know what happened when I was pregnant? You know, I was in labor for 36 hours. And somehow people think that passing on those horrible stories is a good thing. But our culture has actually made giving birth not the great, wonderful thing that it is. Nowadays, you can pay a surrogate to carry your child for you. I was reading about a Hollywood actress who said, it made sense for me to get a surrogate because I would have ruined my career otherwise. Oh, okay. It's not the way I think, and it didn't. And I thought to myself, well, she has her child, and it's her own child, because that's what surrogacy does. And some people can't carry, and so they need surrogacy. But this woman just didn't want to be bothered. And then there are other women who don't want to have happen to them what happens to a woman's child, a woman's body with childbirth. It changes, in case you didn't know, men. It changes a lot. All those hormones just have a little effect on the body. Don't get me wrong, there's things that men can do. There's lots of things that men can do that women cannot. And I'm pleased for that. You know, I'm glad that they can lift and tote. And, you know, I was single until I was 32, and there's just times when I had to call on a neighbor because I wasn't strong enough to do things. That's just the way it is, you know. I didn't have a crowbar or something and I couldn't do it, and you had to call on a man. It's just, that's the way God made us. But men cannot give birth, and I'm pleased that women can. I am pleased that I had that chance. Please, I'm sorry if you didn't have that chance. Maybe you didn't want it, or maybe it just didn't happen. But the bonding and all that happens to you during that, all that stuff that they say, oh no, you're in that stage where this happens next. Those are good things, believe it or not. They're really good things. Maybe what comes after birth, not so much fun, I don't know. I had the perfect child. She was wonderful. She slept through night 2. Slept through, I fed her at midnight, she didn't wake up till 6. Wow. Second night. Yep, the doctor told me that I had the best mammary glands she'd ever seen. She took some of them out later on. So she was wonderful until she turned 10. And I remember saying, who are you and where did you take my child? She didn't like me. She didn't want to be around me. She didn't want to do schoolwork. She didn't want to eat what we prepared. She didn't want to go where we wanted her to go. And that perfect, wonderful child who couldn't wait to learn everything was so sassy. It's like, who are you? And so I'm not really sure about that part of motherhood, but giving birth I think is really cool. Way cool. But somehow our entire culture, after they made birthing not so cool, they made motherhood not so cool. We abdicate, or we are told to abdicate our children to daycare. Let the daycare workers take care of them, and you go to work. And the culture has actually turned so that we have to go to work. I remember, and I was little, but I remember because the discussion was so serious, my mother had given birth to my kid brother. He's 3 years younger than I am, and they didn't have enough money anymore. And she had to go back to work. And I remember her telling us, what would you think about you staying with Marge, the next door neighbor, for a couple of hours every day? I remember how they were not happy about it. They didn't like that she couldn't be home with her kids. They wanted to be home, but our culture has said, oh, just give them to daycare. You can go and have a career. You can have your career. You can have your kids and your career both. That's what our culture says. And maybe you can. My roommate said her mother worked all of her life, but she was always there for her. So she was able to handle it. Some people can do that. But our culture says, oh, well, choose the career first and the kids later. They've made motherhood less than what it should be. Can I pick on you for a change for a second, Marie?
Yes.
How many kids did you have?
10.
10. Yes. Thank you, Rich, for part of that. I appreciate that. 10 kids. God bless her. They're all wonderful, too. Well, I've met most of them. I haven't met Elaine, right? Elaine lives in Ohio? Oh, well, she doesn't live here. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful kids. She enjoyed being a mother, I presume. Was it easy?
Not easy, but it was God's will for my life.
Woo, good. Hey, there's an answer. Not easy, but God's will for her life. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I wanted 12. I got 1.
Lucky for BJ.
What was that?
Lucky for BJ.
No, he missed. I actually had female issues, so there we go. Our society has been deceived into thinking that the high calling of motherhood is really only a menial task that can be filled by low-paid daycare workers. No. I've told you before, I collect comics, and one of my favorite comics is Baby Blues. It doesn't appear in our paper, but it's Wanda and somebody, and they have 3 kids. And she quit work to be a stay-at-home mother, and it's the life of a stay-at-home mother, and how hard it is, and how the kids don't cooperate, and how every now and then she says she wants to go back to work, but then she looks at her kids and can't do it. She can't do it. She needs to be home with her kids. It's a great little comic. Our culture sees childcare as simply that, making sure children are dressed and fed and don't hurt themselves. Some professionals even think that we can start our kids on academics as young as 3 and 4. 3 and 4. So our kids are not people anymore. They're these things that we send off to daycare so I can have a job. We don't even give birth. We get somebody else to give birth so I can keep my profession. That's what's happening to motherhood in our culture. I said, with economics the way it's been, more and more women have to be forced to go into the workforce. They're forced. I will say this, we don't have any young people here, or not many young people. Most of us are older. You can start your own business nowadays. That's a whole lot easier way to stay at home and have your kids. And there are lots of people who would help you do it. Those who stay at home to raise a family are somehow less than the rest. Some women are denying that they want to stay home because they don't want the pressure of being told that that's not a real job. I'm sure you've heard it. People ask you, what's your job? And you say, I'm a stay-at-home mom. And they go, no, I meant, what job do you do? You know, what job do you do? It's the most important job on earth, is being a mother. In the kingdom of God, motherhood is a very high calling. One should not fall prey to the cultural ideology that makes it into a menial job. It is a hard job. You know, I had no trouble at all until Maggie was 10, and, you know, people said, you know, they always say, don't, you know, your firstborn is always so good, you go ahead and have a second one, and then everybody's sorry because the second one drives you nuts. But Maggie made up for it at 10, and she was like that for like 5 or 6 years. She was just really tough, really tough. She just all of a sudden got bold and was just like, ah. You know? So my life was easy. I could imagine having 3 or 4 kids when she was up until 10, but then when she turned 10, my hands would have been just tied because this child was always trouble at 10, always making trouble everywhere she went. She was smarter than me, that's the whole problem. So, in the kingdom of God, motherhood is a high calling, even when it's hard, even when you have 10. My grandmother had 10, and one day she said to me, all of her kids were successful except my uncle. One uncle, he ended up in jail, and she said, I did good, didn't I? Only one went to jail. That's what my grandmother said. Only one. I loved her. She was so cool. Okay. Mothers are the first encounter for all of the kids. Usually, they spend time with their mother, even if their mothers go back to work. Their mother is the one who does the diaper changing, the one who feeds them, especially if they're nursing, the one who talks to them. Maggie had this little teddy bear. It came on, I'm sure I said this before, it came on the Similac or something, and I would set it down in front of her and she would talk to it. Like that. And I said to someone, well, why does she do that? And she said, she's modeling you. You talk all the time. And it was true. And she just make faces like me, no, just talking to this little thing. No cameras back then, that's a shame. Mothers take care of their young physically. It falls to the mothers to do a lot of physical things for their child. Good, nutritious meals. We learned it in home ec. Most of you were that age. We had a home ec class. They don't have that anymore. But we learned how to put a correct meal on the plate with all of the right food pyramid, which they've changed. But it was protein, carb, vegetables. Protein, carbs, vegetables, and if you're rich, you can have a little dessert. But we learned how to feed our kids, and we strive to feed them. My mother never let us have cookies. How many times did you let your kids have cookies? Yeah.
Oh,
Well, all the time.
Dr. him.
Yeah. We'd come home and we'd want something after school. She could have an apple or an orange. We never were given cookies. My sister is like a second family. She came 10 years after. She got all the cookies she wanted. No fair. You know, no fair. Mothers take care of us physically. They prepare good, nutritious meals. They make sure we eat right. They see to our clothing. Who bought your clothes? Did your father buy you any clothes? No. Okay, I have to tell you about my sister, my poor sister. I don't know, I wouldn't call her neurotic. She's just really picky, really picky. And my parents hated to take her shopping. When she got to be about 10, she would start at store 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then she'd say, I want what I saw back at store 1. And my parents, apparently, they thought that was fine, and that's what they did until they established in her this pattern of, I get to go to every store and look at everything, and then I'll buy what I want. And my father said to me, I need you to come home and take her shopping. He wasn't going to do it anymore. But he goes, I'll pay for it if you'll just take her. We don't want to take her. And all there was at that time was the Sears catalog, so there was no online shopping. But they saw to all our clothing needs. Some of them were hand-me-downs, but you got shoes, usually. It's mom who notices when a child has outgrown her shoes. Maggie outgrew her shoes so fast, I can't believe it. And she has very large feet. Sometimes we buy her a new pair of shoes, and they didn't even get bruised up, and she needed a new pair. Her feet just grew. She's a 10 and a half or 11 shoe. and she's only 5'6", so that tells you about her feet. But, you notice when it's the mother that says, why are you walking funny? Because your feet hurt. Mom takes care of those things. It's the mother who checks them at night and covers them up. Dad falls asleep in the chair, but Mom goes in and makes sure the kids are all tucked in and the lights are out. We know when the child is coming down with something. We're with them. We know when they're not feeling good. We know when their eyes are heavy and they have a fever. We know when they're grumpy, because there was this wonderful little girl, and I knew the family, and she was in my children's church class at Bethel, and she was always just a sweetheart. And then this one day in class, she's just like ornery as all get out. And I just, when the mom came in, I said, she's kind of ornery. She goes, yeah, she's been like that for about a week. I said, she probably has ear infections. She went, what? I said, she's got ear infections. Take her to the doctor. And she came to me the following week, and she said, both of her ears were totally plugged up and just as infected could be. And she never had a fever. She was just nasty. So it's usually mothers who notice when kids are feeling terrible. How about haircuts? I'm sure I told you how I came home one day. Maggie was about 12 or no, she must have been about 14, because she had her own hair dye. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I don't know what she did or what she did wrong, but her hair was falling out. So I said, she called me, she goes, by then I must have had a phone. She goes, my hair's falling out. I said, what'd you do? She goes, I was trying to dye it. You have to come home. You have to come home. And I did it. We went straight to the beauty parlor, and they had to do something to keep her hair from all, I don't know what it was. It was expensive, I can tell you that. So yeah, we do haircuts or whatever. And I could go on and on and on. I picked on little things, but mothers are very involved in their child's life. When they get to be teens, you say, go cut your hair, and he says no. Or my father would say, you can't wear that and leave this house. And so you put it in your bag and you leave the house and put it on afterward, But parents are very involved in all of that when they're younger, when they're older, and usually way after we still are involved with their physical well-being. They're also involved with their mental well-being. I had neighbors up the street, wonderful people. Their kids played with my kids. And the interesting thing about them was that there wasn't any reading material in their house, ever. Not a book, not a newspaper, not a magazine. They didn't read. They only watched TV. And guess what? Their kids grew up watching TV. Wonderful kids, but they weren't great readers. In our house, there's books all over. So many books. You want some books? You come get some books. Too many books. But Maggie is a reader, an avid reader. So what you do is what your kids will do. And if you want to read and you want your kids to read, you read to them, etc. And we do that. And we talk to them. Obviously, I talk to them. We sing them their ABCs when they're young. And then we try to do their homework when they're a little older. We try to help them with that. We're their first teacher. Mothers teach them how to talk. Mothers usually teach them how to walk. Unfortunately, after all that time, guess what the first word every kid says is? Dad. Yeah, no fair, Dad, because the D comes off their mouth and the M does not. It has nothing to do with who they prefer. We are often reading to them. We answer all those why questions. Why? 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 And then when they're older, why do I have to do what you say? We answer that one too. We spend the time with them. Even as working mothers, we are the major influence in our child's life. We try and help with the homework. We teach about choosing good friends. Maggie came in the house and said, Rachel, or what? That wasn't Rachel, that's good. The little girl won't play with me unless I do what she wants. And I said, what does she want? She said she wants me to give her all my candy, or whatever it was. And I said, well then come on in. And she goes, but I want to play with her. I want to play with her. I just don't want to give her the candy. And there's a lesson for you. That's a hard one with your children. We teach about choosing friends. We help them pick out prom wear. Didn't you go with your daughter to buy her first prom dress? Maybe you taught your boy how to slow dance. We went to school because the teacher wanted to see us. And we cry when they get an award, and we cry when they don't. Because we're very physically involved, mentally involved with our children. Mothers build their children's emotional strength. That's important. We hold them when they cry. And we teach them that there are some things you don't cry about. You don't cry about everything. Not everything is a cryable offense, and parents need to teach that to their children. We help them be strong when they're left out. Everybody went to his birthday party but me. We hold funerals for their beloved pet. Even the bird that flew into the window and died. I'm getting a lot of smiles. A lot of you hold funerals. Speaking of pets, we take care of that pet that they promised to do. It falls to the mother. It falls to the mother. We ache a little inside when we punish them. It's no joke when you say, this hurts me more than it hurts you. Of course it does. You didn't want them to misbehave and that hurts your feelings. And then you have to punish them for it. My sister and my daughter refused to cry when they were being punished. Both of them did that. We encourage, we build up, we keep on loving them when they say terrible things to you. I don't love you anymore. They say that when they're 4. When they're 14, they say, I can't wait till I leave this house. And we keep on loving them. And then we teach them about words as well. So we are their emotional teacher, their mental teacher, their physical helper. But of all the things that are so very important, and I barely touched on everything that a mother does, I just gave you little examples. Most important of all, if you want your child to succeed, teach them Jesus. Teach them Jesus. Mothers start their children on their spiritual journey. Mothers start their journey. They see you praying. I don't know what Maggie saw, but I used to bring her to a Bible study. Wasn't my Bible study, the ladies had it, and one day we're there, and Maggie goes, somebody said, praise the Lord. She went, she was like 3. Someone said it again. She kept doing it. She was getting a lot of attention, so she kept doing it. She liked it. She also used to dance in the aisles at Bethel, and there was a couple there that didn't like it, and Pastor Ron said, oh, look at that beautiful child dancing in the aisle. She just loves Jesus. She was about 6 then, or 5, something like that. They model what you do. If they see you praying, they know it's important. If they see you reading the Bible, they want to read the Bible. Read it to me. Can I have a Bible? All of those things. You talk to them about Jesus. I know somebody, and I can't remember, I just remember that the family had such a spiritual time every day that when the kids went to play, they would play church. One of them would be a preacher, and every now and then they played funeral, and one of them would be a body. But they were doing spiritual things. They were doing spiritual, because that's what they saw their parents doing. You take them to church.